My video today is in honor of somebody recovering from gun violence, somebody close to me. So I was reading from Ruth White some years ago, and I wrote these notes about the inner child and the soul and the family, and she writes very well. So first of all, she says, when a family is not on our soul wavelength, much of the learning will be through obstacles and the consciousness that results from it, where we have to fight for identity, where it isn't easy, but it leads toward a greater self-knowledge and a self-appreciation of a healthy kind. And family has a lasting fix. The tentacles never quite, fix meaning like fixed in. Tentacles we never quite forget, and we're born to a specific family in order to further our personal evolution. In our soul family group, the harshest taskmasters may be very close to us in our soul group, and we play consenting roles for each other if this will enable learning to take place rather sooner than later. And if we can take the deep love, that it is to face the pain of being the catalyst for another's learning, if any degree of suffering is involved, is how once the meaning dawns, the healing, the understanding, forgiveness come more easily. We know we're working out an intricate evolutionary plan as instruments of growth for each other's, really, it helps to put anger in perspective when we understand that it's like a theater, a play, each other's theaters and plays, that it's a life drama. And we can see it as clearly as if we were watching a show. And so we can lift the frustrations. And at the point of resistance to change lies the fear or the neediness or the uncertainty, the suffering of the inner child. And frustrations, deprivations, neglect, and hurt of being unseen, unheard in childhood go deep. And without healing, the inner child retains a negative autonomy, which often perpetuates a negative influence within the family. An immature, unsatisfied part will live on as a needy and perhaps naughty, neglected, angry inner child, and this will show up as an adult as an embarrassing and surprising moments where this autonomous aspect shows itself. And these parts lead us to seek parenting and permission from others, so we can't truly empower ourselves to make free choices until we recognize the inner child's needs and take responsibility for healing those parts of ourselves. To complicate the matter until we gain further insight, we may punish or oppress the fearful, or overindulge the spoiled, or undernourish the hungry. And this is, the inner lens, the parent's reflection of the children within. There's a pulsating gray cord carrying a two-way flow of energy, which are negative family ties to the family created by conditioning, emotional blackmail, false or divided loyalty, unreasonable expectations of or from ourselves or others. And it affects every aspect of the intrapersonal relationships. It is very daunting to cut destructive ties. We may fear freedom to be ourselves too sometimes, and plus the ties that bind us can be great excuses for not facing the challenges of life. Negative investments prevent or hinder forward progress are often endeavors to be understood before are often needing to be endeavored to be understood before we can attempt to cut the ties. We can then release more energy into our lives and leave the space for the true higher nature of our relationships to become clear. And we cut out the negative collusions and provide opportunity for emotional climates to change. And cutting these ties doesn't drive us apart from others. It sets us free to be loving, rather than the violence or anger that's internalized that destroys the self-worth, which brings down the self-value and ends up in a dead-end situation with no way out, spiraling depression, anxiety, environmental circumstances causing a feedback loop. We identify with them and reflect back to ourselves that we're no good and unworthy. So while anger can be valuable, birth of, self-respect and, it's the outrage is where we usually stop. But we could start to recognize it's actually outrageous. Where it comes from is like there's a blockage that converts the anger to creativity. There's a blockage that actually causes anger, but it can be converted to creativity, and then it draws out a non-identification with the life aspects that made us feel separated or underprivileged. And we realize we're worth more. We're actually on the brink of change. Things can get better. And she says that there are developmental patterns, which I will go through in the next video. Thank you.